China's DF-17 hypersonic missile is presented by the Chinese government as a revolutionary weapon that reshapes modern warfare. However, when examined critically, the narrative surrounding the DF-17 reflects more about how the Chinese Communist Party manages perception than it does about the actual capabilities of the system. China's handling of information about the DF-17 fits a broader pattern: secrecy, overstatement, and political theater taking precedence over verifiable technical fact. Every detail that emerges is carefully curated and filtered through a state-controlled lens. The world is not shown the system as it is, but as the Chinese regime wants it to be seen. The government claims the DF-17 is highly maneuverable, travels at hypersonic speeds, and can strike targets with precision while evading detection and interception. These claims have not been independently verified and exist almost entirely in a vacuum of external analysis. No credible third-party experts have been granted access to performance data. There is no open-source validation, no detailed studies outside the influence of Chinese state interests. This lack of openness is not accidental, it is strategic. China is not interested in being understood, it is interested in being feared. The way China promotes the DF-17 is driven by political calculation. By exaggerating its military technology, the government aims to achieve multiple objectives at once. It attempts to deter rivals, reassure its domestic population of China's power, and project the image of a technologically advanced, militarily dominant superpower. This tactic relies less on actual battlefield readiness and more on belief. If enough people believe the system is advanced and unstoppable, it achieves the political goals of deterrence and influence without having to demonstrate the system under real-world conditions. This is manipulation by design, not a reflection of technological transparency or military honesty. Domestically, the DF-17 fits neatly into the government's narrative of national strength and rising global status. The missile becomes a symbol, not of tested military power, but of ideological confidence. It is part of a broader propaganda effort to build a narrative in which China is always advancing, always leading, always mastering the latest frontier. But behind this controlled image, the reality is unknowable. In a system where the military, media, and science communities are all subject to censorship and party loyalty, no internal criticism is allowed to surface. There is no space for acknowledging failure, technical limits, or operational weaknesses. China's obsession with controlling the story around the DF-17 reveals deep insecurity. A nation confident in its achievements doesn't need to overstate them. A system sure of its strength doesn't need to manufacture awe. Yet the Chinese state continues to issue bold, unverifiable claims about its missile capabilities, precisely because it fears what transparency might reveal. If real data were released, if independent analysts could assess performance, the illusion might collapse. That possibility is unacceptable in a regime where perception is power. Internationally, China uses weapons like the DF-17 as psychological tools. They are not merely military assets, they are part of an influence campaign designed to elevate China's image while undermining that of its competitors. By claiming capabilities that others cannot easily disprove, China inserts doubt into defense calculations around the world. Governments must react not to what China can actually do, but to what it claims to do. This creates strategic confusion, which the Chinese regime sees as a win. But again, the substance behind the claims remains elusive. Furthermore, the Chinese state benefits from the ambiguity. The lack of independent oversight allows it to quietly shift narratives as needed. If a test fails, it isn't reported. If a technical obstacle arises, it is hidden. The world is only ever shown what the regime chooses to show, and in a tightly censored information environment, this curated reality becomes the only reality many observers have access to. This is not how mature, trustworthy military powers operate. It is how insecure regimes manipulate appearances to cover their weaknesses. Even China's internal technical community operates under pressure. Scientists, engineers, and military planners cannot speak freely about the limitations or developmental struggles of systems like the DF-17. Research is politicized, reporting is controlled, and dissent is treated as disloyalty. In such an environment, the truth about any advanced weapons system is likely to be buried under layers of distortion, exaggeration, and selective silence. That alone should raise serious doubts about anything the regime claims regarding the DF-17's actual performance. Moreover, there is no incentive within China's authoritarian structure to present a balanced or factual account. The political leadership gains far more from exaggeration than from honesty. A hypersonic missile that is seen as fearsome, even if it isn't, serves the regime's goal of elevating China's status in the global strategic landscape. The cost of being caught exaggerating is low, especially when no one is allowed to investigate. The benefits of being perceived as powerful are high. This is a regime that trades truth for control and substitutes narrative for evidence. The overhyping of the DF-17 is not just a technical issue, it's a reflection of China's deeper strategy of influence through deception. It exposes how much of the country's military image is built not on proven capacity but on carefully staged illusion. When every claim is filtered through propaganda, when no data is shared, when no debate is permitted, the natural conclusion is that the regime is not confident in its own narrative. It needs to control the story because the story cannot stand on its own. The DF-17 is less a breakthrough in weapons design than a case study in how authoritarian states distort reality to serve political ends. It is a warning about how easy it is to build a reputation for power in a world where perception matters more than truth. Until China proves otherwise, the DF-17 should be seen not as a symbol of unmatched strength, but as evidence of how far a government will go to mask its limitations behind the illusion of progress.